Yeah, what's going on, everybody? That's right. The Boxer Source here is checking in, and this is a little bit of a segment that's I wouldn't necessarily say off the cuff, but this is I guess a bonus from the podcast that took place live on Sunday. So Sunday's podcast, we're talking about all the action that went down on Saturday night over in California with the um, main event of Brandon Figueroa and Mark McSio. But also had plans to talk about the of course boxing movie Creed 3, which was released over the weekend. But due to time or whatever it was, weren't able to necessarily talk about it. So I wanted to kind of like have or share my thoughts on it. Hopefully, we'll be able to have some people that join in on this conversation. But just wanted to have my take on it, and have my thoughts on the movie itself, on various things in reference to the movie and stuff like that. So, Creed 3, like I said, was released over the weekend. I was able to see it on Thursday night before it was released everywhere on like Friday night in the U.S. Here's been like a few days after the weekend. You got the numbers that have come out. Domestically, it reached nearly 60, pretty much what 60 million domestically. And worldwide it was at 100 million. They had dropped a note about Creed 3 being the first movie or whatever it was to like open worldwide at 100 million. Uh, revenue taken in for that first weekend. You know, so that's fairly successful there for the movie Creed 3. But I just wanted to give my take on my experience. Going to see this movie. Now, this is something because me, I'm not much of a moviegoer at all. So like going to the theaters, I don't hit the movie theaters for those Marvel comic movies, DC or whatever it is, or any type of dramas and nothing like that. So this was like my first, experience at the theaters for a good amount of time, like years or whatever it is. So me going in there, man, I had completely forgot the whole thing about previews and like how long and how many previews they be having on there. And we'll be having like 60, 11 previews, that you be trying to go through and sift through and watching. And I'm like, man, come on, is y'all going to show the movie or not, man? I'm almost like fading a little bit of being like half asleep or something because you got them theaters that be having the reclining chairs and stuff. So you be like sitting there lounging back like you in a sofa or something. You know what I'm saying? Or one of them chairs that you got in the living room that you be chilling out at. How you be watching TV. So I'm like looking at all these previews. I'm like, man, come on, y'all gotta hurry up with this joint and start showing the movies. So I don't know, man. That was like about 20 minutes or something before the movie started on the big screen in there, man. But you know, movie started. Had the little setting in there reference to timeline. Where they started at, and if there's those that haven't seen the movie but seen the previews, it kind of like goes into the background of the two main characters in the movie there for Creed 3. So it goes like back in time and then it like fast forwards there in reference to Adonis Creed there, of course, who is the main character of the series there for Creed. So, in the present times, it's Adonis Creed. Now, this is like sometime after he done closed out his career as a professional, as a world champion, unified world champion, had those, fights against, all of those opponents that, he had there over the course of time, particularly, the last one there in Creed 2, where, it was the battle there between him and Victor Drago, of course, the son of Ivan Drago. So that is, it's been years past that. So, he's good and retired, family man, all that, got his kid, got his wife, take care, of all of them, got his mom still out there. But, you've seen the whole thing there with, him, like I said, chilling out, retired life and everything like that. And, he got his little setup with, the gym that's out there in his hometown or whatnot. And, well, after all that joint was going down, like you see, the boy that, he was hanging with, his main man's back at the youth, you know, and Damien. And Damien, all of a sudden he's, finally, getting out of prison, as the brief summary of it had went down, right? But gets out of prison, eventually finds his way over to the gym of where Adonis Creed is, hanging out at. Of course, watches over and stuff like that. Um, so he says, "Hey, I mean, wait a minute. Hey, this is where he's at. I bet." So, he gets out there, and Adonis shows up to his car, and he sees Damien out there. Damien's like, "Yo, what's up?" He's like, "Hey, Donna's out there like, yo, what's going on?" It's like, "What? You don't remember me?" And he reminds him. He's like, "Oh, snap!" So had all that stuff going down. They had the whole brief thing about catching up and everything like that. And then of course they asked for a favor. And this is the joint that kind of like is where things are a little bit off a bit, when it comes to the boxing thing. Because, those that, know about the boxing game, there's, a couple of things that you can and can't do. But, initially, Damien says, "Hey, I want to, I want to, continue my dream in boxing." So he's like, Don's like, "All right, cool. I mean, you could, hang around, be up there in the, in the gym or whatever it is, and kind of get in there." So he's like, "All right, cool." So shows up, and of course, you got the, the trainer out there, little Duke, sees him in there, and he's like, why you got him in here? Why you got him in here? He's like, "Yo, man, he wanted to do some things, wanted to, in the gym, or trying to be a fighter and trying to help him out." So he's like, all right, all right, cool. So this is all when you got the world champion that's in of course, played by Jose Benavidez Jr. And Benavidez Jr. is preparing for a fight himself. And uh, before I go into all too much, man, yo, he's in there as like Felix Chavez, and Chavez got a big fight coming up, and got this fight coming up there against you know um Vic. But hey, I mean, here's the thing, yo, Damien there trying to say, "Hey, man, I'm trying to get in quick. Like, man, like I want to prove that I'm the best. That I'm the best." So he's like saying, "Hey, man, I want to be in there to try to, fight and get in there as a world champ." Is And Don's like, "Nah, nah." But then, of course, like a whole situation happens with opponent there of Chavez, and well, that fight had got scrapped or whatever it is. So one way or another, Damien gets in And I don't understand it. Like, I mean, here's the thing. Like, come on, man. Like, I know, there's ways. If you've been in boxing, of course, of a couple times when professional fighters have been able to fight for world titles, like within a few fights. Of course, recent memory of with Lomachenko fighting for a world title or whatnot within his like third fight or whatever it is. But in this case, this is in a movie where you got somebody that's coming out of prison, ain't had no amateur experience, none of that, except for little golden gloves or when he was a youth before he got locked up. But he ain't had none after that. And then you get put in there to fight for the world title, unified world championships. But hey, that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? But hey, that ended up being the case there. And they ended up winning, and he ended up winning in a certain way that, like, Don didn't quite like. You know what I'm saying? And then after all that, after them talk about catching up, being chums, and Donna's getting them that chance. Then once he got that chance, he did what he did in order to win the belt. Then it was like, Donna said found out a whole lot of other things, reference to, how he got to where, how Damien got to where he got to. And that's where the whole joint came in about, talk about the past between those two, So, but I like that whole part. I ain't really like how that kind of like played out in the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to see a little bit more of that. How that all came through, how that all developed, and everything like that. Um, going to that more in the movie instead of having little snippets. Um, and so that's how you quickly like seeing like how both those guys uh pretty much became the two main characters, the good guy and the bad guy. You know what I'm saying? And a guy that has his first professional fight is able to fight for the unified heavyweight championship of the world. Like, come on, man! Like, where the come on? Like, first off, I mean, I know, of course it's a movie, but you try to put it as like, you know, you had the WBC in the what was it, the IBF or something like that was involved. So you mean to tell me the WBC, all of them, who was able to approve the fight section to fight against the dude that had his first professional fight and nobody really knew about him and nothing like that? I'm like, come on, man. That that part there is wild though. But that's how that kind of shaped up. And other thing too was like the way that the characters in there was developed or pretty much like played out in this movie. I was like, man, uh yeah, I just felt like like for example, right, of course you have one of the major characters throughout the Creed series is Marianne Creed, the mother of Adonis Creed. And well, I mean, if you've seen the movie or you watched the movie, then you've seen how things were developed in reference to her character and how she kind of like stood out over the series. But yeah. But hold on, man. Shout out to those in the live chat. Of course, they got Brother Joseph of War Week Radio Network. He says it's really not that far fetched at this time. They wanted to rank Jake Paul after 6 fights. Yeah, I feel you. Hey, it wasn't WBC. Hey, the WBC was one of the sanctioning bodies that was involved in Damian when he fought for the world title there against Felix Chavez. So I mean, hey, it's not that surprising. But I mean, the thing there with Jake Paul is, you had Jake Paul there in the WBC. We're going back to real Drake. You had Jake Paul that was at the WBA convention last year over in Orlando, Florida. So I mean, yeah, they, they wanted to, have that name or notoriety attached to it. There with Jake Paul. So if he was able to, get that win, some time back there um, against Fury, then hey, he probably would have put him in the rankings, and they would have been like, yo, everybody would have been in an uproar. But here, this is like I said, this is like worse than Vasily Lomachenko fighting for a world title there against Orlando Salido. Like, come on, man. Like Bob Arum wouldn't be able to give Damian that much leeway. Come on, man. So but back into the thing there, like character development, or progression over the course of the movie. Like I said, um the thing there with Marianne Creed, like it I just felt like, of course that's Claire Huxtable. Of course, I'm of that generation, so that's Claire Huxtable. But given her role in the previous two movies and this one here, it almost like seemed like she was like, how would I say it? Um Not like she was like of course not the main antagonist, but it's like the way that things played out for the main antagonist, and how one specific element of what he was talking about to Adonis, and how Adonis didn't know about something until his mother finally had disclosed it to him. Yeah, that wasn't all too, I didn't really like how that kind of like turned out. And after that, how it basically played out for within the rest of that movie. You know what I mean? So like I was like, that was like one setback that I felt like was something that they could have done a little bit more with in the movie. But there's that. The other thing too, man, is like, I mean, you have the main antagonist in Damian Anderson, right? Of course, we had like a quick synopsis and then reference to, how him and Adonis grew up, how they were hanging out a lot. Where Damian and him kind of like got into the boxing game, or whatever it is. But the other thing too was like, I wanted to know more about what happened when they were in the group home and stuff like that too. There has to be more into that. Like I feel like that one, or at least that part, kind of like was something that I felt like, hey, like go ahead and get into that, a little bit more, and how there was like a major difference, between them two there, when they was young kids, and then after they all got out and then got to where they were as teenagers. So so I wanted to see how it circles back to the beginning of the movie, and how that part or that segment in the beginning of Creed 3 plays out. You know what I mean? So that was the other thing that I just felt like I wanted a little bit more of, especially when it came to the antagonists there. Sometimes you want to, yeah, you want to have something where about the main character and everything like that. But if you have yourself a main protagonist or whatnot, you want to see where his origins are, or how he got to where he got to. You only saw like bits and pieces of why he ended up being the main protagonist, especially when Adonis found out a couple of things there about Damien. while he was in the joint, and eventually when he got to this point of, you know, getting that shot and basically, uh, doing a few things in order to, try to get the trust of Adonis Creed there to that point, and then getting the shot, getting the belt, and then after he got the belt, he's like, you know, now see, I'm on top. I'm the man. I'm this. I'm that. But like I said, in reference to that pass, you really didn't, get much out of that. The other thing too, like you had, of course, Adonis's daughter, Amara. Is there's a young child there, and pretty much the elementary school level, and she gets into a couple of little things there over the course of the movie too. So then you kind of like see what it ends up developing as once the movie progresses. But it's like, well, you only get, like I said, you only get bits and pieces of that. Like either you get like, okay, you get this section, and then you get, the other part about, when Adonis and Amara, connect as father and daughter, and why it kind of like gets a little bit, why the relationship builds there in reference to this movie in Creed 3 too. So um I wanted to see like more on that. That was almost like, bits and pieces. And then uh yeah, I just felt like, overall the whole thing looked like it was rushed. And I did say that initially, right after getting out of the movie, I just felt like this particular movie itself was kind of like hastily put together. And I know it was, the uh directorial debut for Michael B. Jordan. This is a good 5 years after Creed 2 had been out in the theaters. But yeah, I just felt like, a lot of this stuff kind of like was almost like in bits and pieces, like, like I said, in reference to how Damien was able to get to his position in the sport of boxing. Like I said, in reference to the story there with Adonis's mother, Marianne, who, like I said, is a major player over the Creed series. But then in this particular movie, it's like what I would say like three major parts in this movie, and that's pretty much it. It is like, and also you're kind of like seeing where the direction was going with her, pretty much at the first scene that she was in to where it ended up at too. So that kind of was like, eh, I don't know. That kind of, yeah, I ain't really like that part though. But like I said, and then also like the build up to the penultimate fight there. So of course, for those that have watched the movie, of course, the penultimate fight is between Adonis and Damien. So I really, I thought that that could have been something a little bit more than it was. I guess they didn't want it to be like the previous couple movies in reference to Adonis Creed, because you see that in those couple movies he was really getting touched up, and he had to come up from adversity and everything like that, or lost a tooth, But in this one, it was more like it was more about like attrition or something like that. One, and then two, I feel like was different how Damien went through in this particular fight than he did in, well, of course, his pro debut there against Felix Chavez. I mean, he did a certain amount of things there in that fight against Felix Chavez for him to get that victory. In this fight here against Adonis, well, you didn't really see that. So I thought, going into the movie, and then when the fight came up, I'm like, okay, I'm like, if you seeing it there, they're like, you seen what Damien was doing in that particular fight, and of course, Adonis's trainer there, little Duke Tony Burton, also seen that too. So that's what I was looking for, and I didn't necessarily see that necessarily get what I was expecting in that too. But that kind of like was mostly what I had seen in that particular movie, man. And like I said, I just felt like overall that movie was kind of like hastily put together in a sense. Yes, he did have some appearances there from characters and also additional characters in the previous Creed series that were in this movie. But you had that. You have, of course, a number of fighters or actual pro fighters that were part of this movie as well. You had trainers that were part of this movie as well. So people that follow the sport of boxing were looking forward or looking towards us seeing them in this particular movie. So you did have some cameo appearances and such there from former fighters, current fighters. Of course, you had the thing there with the television production within the movie that kind of included uh, Showtime in the Zone as well there. So you kind of like had that, and of course, for those that do follow the sport, that would kind of like be pretty interesting there. That you would have one fight that's on Showtime, and then the other fight being on the Zone, whatever it is. Maybe they didn't really have to worry about network deals in this movie part of the, you know, I guess in the movie realm, so to speak. So yeah, you don't, you didn't really have to worry about all that in this movie. So that kind of like that element wasn't necessarily a key factor there. But I just felt like the movie. mm, I expected more out of it. I don't know, if anybody else expected more out of it. Given what y'all seen in the series. Of course, I've seen every movie in the Rocky series from 1 to 5, and then the whole thing with Creed, 1, 2, and then now 3. And yeah, I just felt like this one here just felt like a lot of pieces were missing on it. So I'm like, like maybe we could have got a little bit more out of it. I don't know. And the thing about it too is like, how they pretty much like close things off. It almost seems like to me like this would be the last one in the series. Hopefully it isn't, but it's almost like you kind of seen the level of closure overall in reference to the Creed series when it came to this movie and how it all played out. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that's not the case, but we'll see how that goes. Um, but yeah, I mean, you kind of like had, like I said, some good moments, some moments that were like, yeah, I'm not sure if this was like all too high or whatever it is. Like I said, for me, it was more about character development over the course of this movie that I just felt like multiple characters within this movie were incomplete. So it's like, man, I really wanted to get more, on it. Shout out to Chris here in the building, man. Like I said, I mean, I was just talking about Creed 3, because I didn't really talk about it in the podcast on Sunday. So, I just wanted to, have my take on it. Like I said, I mean, character development to me wasn't for like a good few characters on there, especially the antagonist. I felt like I wanted to see more on that. I wanted to see more about how he and I mean his relationship with Adonis like kind of like develop over some of the group home. I wanted to go back to that. Like I wanted more out of that. Not just little snippets of you know why it got to the point that it got to there in the group home before they were able to get out of there. And how the role of the person that ran it, how that played out for both of them. So uh, I just felt like more development could have taken place, but here in this instance, it just felt like to me this movie was going by way too quick. It just felt like it went way too quick for me. But like I was saying at the beginning, when I had saw the movie on Thursday night, I'm like, first, like I said, it was like the first time I had been in the theaters for a good little minute. So I like forgot about the whole thing with the previews before the movie, and I'm like, and I got there late. Like I got there what it was about like 5 or 10 minutes after they said the showtime was supposed to take place. And I get in there, a couple previews starting, and then by the time I got all settled in, there was still like another 10 to 15 minutes more previews or something. So I'm like, come on, man. Like, like, do we need to know about every single movie that's coming out in the future before you get into the actual thing that we came to see? Come on now. But either way, it's still something for people to watch. Like I said, it had about what it is about 50, what about 60, almost 60 million in the opening weekend domestically in the U.S. and 100 million worldwide. So we got good little chunk of change here for this first weekend. We'll see what happens here in the following weekends of how things go. But I say this, man. During the weekend, a lot of media outlets were boosting up this movie like it was like, oh man, this is great. You got Michael B. Jordan, directorial debut, and this is a movie, man. It, like it's gonna be great or whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, cool. But like I said, I watched the movie and I was like, yeah, I don't know about it being all great. Shout out to Juice, man. Great supporter here at the Boxing Source. Coming in here for the live conversation. Like I said, I mean this one here is like I said, I went through Creed 3. I'm not sure if any of y'all that are in the chat that watched it, if y'all did, you could drop like quick thoughts on it. But yeah, other than that, man, like I said, if you haven't seen it yet, just be just be wary of a couple of things that you are looking for in the movie, especially if you watched the first two movies in the series. Now, for me, I felt like Creed 2 was the best one of the series. Because well, of course, because had like a couple of elements of nostalgia with that particular movie, but I just felt like it had mostly what I say it was like the better movie out of the series because of all of the elements that kind of like was put together in reference to it. So like I felt like Creed 2 is the best of the series. Um Here with Creed 3. Um yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, I felt like there were a number of things that were missing in this particular movie that I felt like that could have been brought out more. Like I said, especially with the antagonists. I mean, you got like a couple of events that took place that made him be the main antagonist before it got to that penultimate point. But I wanted to see more on how he got to where he got to. So I mean, we've seen what happened with Creed, of course, the series, but I wanted to see more there from Damien or about Damien, and I just didn't feel like we got enough of that. So that's what I feel like in this, and like I said, for those that haven't seen it yet, if you want to go ahead and see it, you want to go ahead and support, you go through. I mean, this is just my analysis of the movie. My analysis of it could be completely different from yours after you watch it. But like I said, just look for a couple of things that are within the movie, and you'll kind of like see like either you'll have the same views that I had in reference to certain characters within the movie, or you'll see probably you could see something else there that I probably didn't talk about or didn't really you touch on that maybe could have stood out for you. And then also like I said, you did have a number of cameos from fighters, actual fighters, not just with the one of the major characters at the first part of the movie or throughout the movie actually, but a number of people that you may or may not know that are actually within the boxing business. So that's something else to look out for in there. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. We'll probably have some more content here on the Boxing Source YouTube channel here within the course of the week. For those that are following the current news, we know about what's happening tomorrow and also on Thursday with the press tour for Gervonta Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. So we do have that's coming up. So y'all be on the lookout for that. And we'll have some more news and notes here on this particular channel. Like I said, you can also support the Boxing Source through Cash App. As you see the tag there, $sign the Boxing Source for anyone that will want to support the movement. As like I said, I'm trying to build this to be one of the major programs out there that could expand the boxing media here and make sure that the sport itself is featured more. So whether it's on the top level, mid level, those that are starting out in the professional game, also with amateurs as well. That's what we're trying to build towards here to grow the sport. So for those that feel like you would want to support, you can just hit the Cash App. We really appreciate it. And then with that being said, that's it from my side. We'll catch y'all later on that note. I'm out. Peace.